So great to see you again. It's Judy from Coffee Cookies and Books, and what we've got today is November book releases. I have 40 of them. Can't wait to share them with you. All right, so I have 40 books over 4 different dates. First 3 dates, we've literally got 12 books in each date, and the last one only has 4, which is towards the end of November. So as I do every month, usually at the beginning of one month, I will bring the next month's book releases to you. And I like to bring a variety. And I find that this month, the November collection is a mishmash of a lot of different things. I mean, there's still quite a lot of fantasy, I'd say. I think there were more thrillers in October, and there's much less of that going into November. And November seems to be heavily fantasy oriented. Interestingly enough, I found next to no Christmas books. So I don't think there's a lot in here that I can recall. I made this list quite some time ago, so we shall see. I'm sure there's going to be quite a few in there that you're interested in, and there's probably quite a few that are in here that I have already pre-ordered. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So the first date that we're going to look at is November 4th. First book that I have for the 4th of November is The House Saphir, at least I think that's how it's pronounced, by Marissa Meyer. Now, I know that Marissa Meyer has written other books. I've never read anything by her. It says the Queen of Fairy Tale Retellings is back. So that's, the other series was Cinder, and then looks like she had a murder mystery series called Heartless. This series is rated as fantasy romance for YA. So this is YA oriented. Says Mallory Fontaine is a fraud. Though she comes from a long line of witches, the only magic she possesses is the ability to see ghosts, which is really as useful as one would think. She and her sister have maintained the family business, eking out a paltry living by selling bogus spells to gullible buyers and conducting tours of the infamous mansion where the first of the Saphir murders took place. Mallory is a self-proclaimed expert on Count Bastien Saphir, otherwise known as Monsieur Le Bleu, who brutally killed 3 of his wives more than a century ago, but she never expected to meet Bastien's great-great-grandson and heir to the Saphir estate. Armand is handsome, wealthy, and convinced that the Fontaine sisters are as talented as they claim. The perfect mark. When he offers Mallory a large sum of money to rid his ancestral home of Le Bleu's ghost, she can't resist. A paid vacation at Armand's country manor? It's practically a dream come true. Never mind the ghosts of murdered wives and the monsters that are as common as household pets. But when murder again comes to the House Saphir, Mallory finds herself at the center of the investigation, and she is almost certain the killer is mortal. If she has any hope of cashing in on the payment she was promised, she'll have to solve the murder and banish the ghost, all while upholding the illusion of witchcraft. But that sounds relatively easy compared to her biggest challenge, learning to trust her heart, especially when the person her heart wants the most might be a murderer himself. Sounds good. I think this might be one of those instances where I think that the blurb gave away too much. Just saying. But I like that this sounds like it combines fairy tale romance and mystery. So it's a bit of a combination of the two, which I do like the sound of that. Okay, next book is Fallen City by Adrienne Young. This is historical fantasy, epic fantasy. Like, I've read Adrienne Young, but certainly not fantasy, okay? I mean, I suppose the one book that I read from her, I think it was A Sea of Unspoken Things, had a bit of a fantastical element to it between the communication of the twins, the one that died and the one that was alive, who came back home because of his death. So there was that fantastical element there, but this, it's saying it's fantasy. In the great walled city of Asara, political turmoil ignites a rebellion 100 years in the making, but when a legionnaire falls in love with a magistrate's daughter, their love will threaten the fate of the city and the will of the gods. Sounds like it has romance involved. Definitely epic fantasy. How many pages is this? It's only 400 pages, so that's like the typical length I would think of most of her books. But yeah, so that, again, November 4th. All right, next one is Empire of the Dawn, which is book 3 in the Empire of the Vampire series. I have the first 2 books, have not read them yet. They're on my TBR cards. I just haven't pulled them. And I really do want to get this series read. And I do have the 3rd one on pre-order. So we'll see. Anyway, so this being the 3rd one, I do not want to read any of this, but just suffice to say, I hope it's as good as the other ones from all reports. Seems to be a great series. I hope he finishes off beautifully. Okay, the next book that's on the list is 7 Deadly Thorns by Amber Hamilton. And this, I believe, is another fantasy. Yeah, fate, dating, romance, enemies to lover romance, dark fantasy for young adults. So again, another YA. I'm going to be honest, I don't read a lot of YA, so most of these would not interest me. I wanted to bring as much variety as I could to you guys. So it says the cruel prince meets powerless in this dark academia romantasy that will tattoo itself onto your heart. In the cursed kingdom of Aragoa, the punishment for magic is death. Even the students at Vanderburg Academy aren't spared. When Viola Sinclair's deadly shadow magic is discovered, the queen gives her assassin a new assignment and a new curse tattoo. 7 thorned rose on his arm. For the 7 days, he has to hunt Viola down and kill her. If he doesn't, he will be the one to die. There you have it. Okay. I've never read anything by Amber Hamilton, so I'll leave that to you guys on if you want to read that or not. And the next one is The Forget-Me-Not Library by Heather Weber. This one is rated as women's fiction. A detour, a chance encounter, 2 women who alter the pages of each other's story. Juliet Nightingale is lucky to be alive months after a freak accident involving lightning. She's fully recovered, but is left feeling that something is missing from her life, something big. Impulsively, she decides to take a solo summer road trip, hoping that the journey will lead her down a path that will help her discover exactly what it is that she's searching for. Newly single mom Tallulah Bird Mayfield is hanging by a thread after her neat, tidy world was completely undone when her husband decided that their marriage was over. In the aftermath of the breakup, she and her 2 daughters move in with her 80-year-old grandfather. Tallulah starts a new job at the Forget-Me-Not Library, where old treasured memories can be found within the books, and where Lou must learn to adapt to the many changes thrown her way. When a road detour leads Juliet to Forget-Me-Not, Alabama, and straight into Tallulah's life, the 2 women soon discover there's magic in between the pages of where you've been and where you still need to go, and that happiness, even when lost, can always be found again. So it sounds like a charming story. Okay, next one is Coldwire by Chloe Gong. And I think this is science fiction, if I'm not mistaken. Science fiction and dystopian romance for YA. Everything's YA. This so far. We're just banging it up with the YA books. The future is loading. To escape rising seas and rampant epidemics, most of society lives upcountry in glistening virtual reality, while those who can't afford the subscription are forced to remain in crumbling downcountry. But upcountry isn't perfect. A cold war rages between two powerful nations, Medalua and Arahua. Those names. And no one suffers for it more than the Medan orphans in Arahua. Their enrollment at Nile Military Academy is mandatory. Either serve as a soldier or risk being labeled a spy. Certainly sounds interesting. What does it sell here? From best-selling author Gong comes the start of a daring new dystopian series, so it's going to be a series, where humanity has moved to virtual reality to flee their deteriorating world, following two young soldiers who must depend on unlikely allies in their fight for survival. So that's that one. All right, next one. Son of the Morning by, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name because I will completely butcher it. So the cover is up for you to view. Yeah, I know I will butcher that. This one is African mythology, Black and African American fantasy fiction, angels, paranormal romance. A steamy romantasy of forbidden love, heavenly secrets, and earthly desires, tangled in a Southern Gothic tale of angels and demons. So I actually thought this one sounded pretty interesting, but we shall see where it goes from there. It says, from best-selling author, and her name comes a steamy paranormal romance set in the Black South, a bold new foray that takes us on a journey of magic and fantasy from the whispering creeks outside the city of salvation to the very depths of hell itself. That sounds really good. I read something similar to that. I had arcs for a series that is a very similar sort of thing. It was very steamy, but it was also pretty brutal because it was a fight between angels and demons and all that. Yeah. Okay. Clearly that one's not YA. At least it doesn't say it is. So I don't know. And then we have Cursed Daughters by Oyinkan Braithwaite. I think that's how it's pronounced. I apologize if I butchered it. A young woman must shake off a family curse and a widely held belief that she is the reincarnation of her dead cousin in this wickedly funny, brilliantly perceptive novel about love, female rivalry, and superstition from the author of the smash hit My Sister, the Serial Killer. So that one sounds good. I think it's just listed under literary fiction. Love the cover. Just wanted to say that. I loved the cover. I thought that was a great cover. Okay, next one is Blackthorn by J.T. Geissinger. And this is rated as dark romance, enemies to lovers romance, gothic romance. Now, it's not saying it's fantasy, even though it has a very fantastical cover, but I know that J.T. Geissinger writes dark romance. So I'm assuming it's a new series from her. From the diabolical mind of New York Times bestselling author J.T. Geissinger comes a scorching new enemies to lovers romance filled with explosive secrets, nail-biting, gothic suspense, and the dangerous lure of dark magic. So it has a bit of a fantastical element, obviously, in it. It's, you never forget your first love, especially when he's also your worst nightmare. I think it sounds great. Of course I would think that sounds great. They. Okay, the next one, The Bridesmaid by Kate Quinn. I have read this. I read it as an ARC. I actually quite enjoyed it. My review for it will come up a couple of videos after this one because I read it in September. But it is from the acclaimed author of The Clinic, comes a pulse-pounding thriller about a society wedding turned deadly for fans of The Unwedding. I have not read The Unwedding, but I did read this. The Kensingtons invite you to the society wedding of the decade. There's just one hitch. You might not make it out alive. When celebrity brides When a celebrity bridesmaid is murdered weeks before an exclusive society wedding, forensic attorney Holly Stone is drafted as an unlikely undercover replacement as she works to unpick the lives of the notoriously private Kensington family. Glamour-averse Holly, so she don't like glamour, any of it, believe me, discovers a new worst enemy in bridezilla Adrienne. Heir to a multi-million-dollar fortune, Adrienne is set on throwing the event of the decade, and she won't let anything get in her way. So I'll leave it at that. And yeah, my review is going to come up shortly on that one, and I did enjoy it. Oh God. So the next one is The Sacred Space Between, which is by Kalie Reid. I think that's how it's pronounced. And it is dark fantasy, horror fiction, romantic fantasy, futuristic, and ghost romance. So, doesn't say YA. An enchanting enemies to lover fantasy about an exiled saint and a devout iconographer sent to paint him for fans of divine rivals and a study in drowning. So we'll leave it at that. I actually thought this one sounded interesting. I have never read, now I have Divine Rivals, haven't read it yet. But Study in Drowning didn't kind of really interest me. So I don't know if I would like this one or not, but I did think it sounded good. And the last one for November 4th is The Devil in Oxford, which is the third book in the Ruby Vaughn mystery series by Jess Armstrong. So this is a series, it's like a mystery investigative series. So I don't believe it is continuation. It's just they're interconnected, more or less. Set after the Great War, Jess Armstrong's best-selling and award-winning series is a historical gothic murder mystery at its best, and Ruby Vaughn returns. If someone were to ask American heiress Ruby Vaughn how exactly the occult came to play such a large role in her life, she would immediately point to her octogenarian housemate and employer, Mr. Owen. Together, the pair run a rare bookshop in Exeter. Mr. Owen's penchant for arcane, unusual, and occasionally illegal books has been known to get Ruby into her fair share of trouble. And after the last year, she is looking forward to spending a quiet holiday in picturesque Oxford while Mr. Owen attends the annual meeting of his antiquarian society. Secretly, Ruby is also looking for a holiday from her confounding feelings for Ruin Cavell, the intriguing folk healer Peller that she met in Cornwall. So obviously there are certain elements of the book that is continuous. I find that in a lot of mystery series. You know, like you might be able to read, like with Kathy Reich's books about Temperance Brennan, you could pick up and read any book, but you're going to lose out on some of the character development that still happens in the background. So that may very well be the case with this one. And it says it's 20th century historical romance and English history. It has English history in it. Okay, so that's it for November 4th. Now we're on to November 11th. All right, so we're going to start on November 11th with The Strength of the Few by James Islington. This is the second book in his series. The first one was The Will of the Many. I do have that, haven't read it, so have not pre-ordered this one. Not to mention, this is hardcover. I have the first book in paperback. Super thick book, and I love the paperback, okay? Super floppy paperback. So I want this one in paperback to match. So I'm going to wait until it comes available in paperback, and then I'll pick it up. And because this is the continuation of a series, not interconnected, it is an actual continuation. I will not read the synopsis, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people. This is the highly anticipated follow-up of The Will of the Many, one of 2023's most lauded and best-selling fantasy novels. Follows Vis as he grapples with a dangerous secret that could unravel history across alternate dimensions. Love the sound of it. Can't wait to read the first one. It just hasn't come up yet in my TBR. Next one is Brigands and Breadknives by Travis Baldree, and this is the third book in the Legends and Lattes. So first one was Legends and Lattes. Second one was Bookshops and Bone Dust, which was a prequel. And then this one follows one of the characters from the prequel. And so it says, return to the cozy fantasy world with a new adventure featuring fan favorites, foul-mouthed bookseller Fern. So, yeah, I mean, I loved Fern. I actually liked the prequel better than Legends and Lattes, and that was because it had a bit more of high stakes in Bookshots and Bone Dust, so I actually liked it better. It says Fern has weathered the stillness and storms of a bookseller's life for decades, but now, in the face of crueling ennui, transplants herself to the city of Thune to hang out her shingle beside a long-absent friend's coffee shop. What could be a better pairing? Surely a charming renovation montage will cure what ails her, if only things were so simple. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah. Can't wait to read it. I do think it's going to be good. Okay. Next one is Nash Falls by David Baldacci. I think this is a mystery. Yeah, crime, action, adventure, mystery thrillers. When Walter Nash is recruited by the FBI to help bring down a global crime network, his life is turned completely upside down in this thriller from #1 bestseller, David Baldacci. Nash is an intelligent man, tough but fair-minded. He has a wife and a daughter in a very high-level position at Cybernetic Investments, where his innate skills and dogged tenacity have carried him to the top of the pyramid in his business career. Despite never going on grand adventures and always working too many hours, he has a happy and upscale life with his family. However, following his estranged Vietnam veteran father's funeral, Nash is unexpectedly approached by the FBI in the middle of the night. I'm just going to leave it there. I mean, there's more. That's enough. Because, sometimes the blurbs on these thrillers give away too much. So that's enough on that one. Next one is Freeing the Wild. This is by Paisley Hope. It's the fourth book in the Silver Pines Ranch series, which is a romance. And it is country music star finds inspiration in a ruggedly handsome cowboy while visiting Silver Pines Ranch. But can their budding love story ever become more than a one-hit wonder? So that's that one. Does it have any tropes in here? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. No, but it is a Western and frontier romance. I haven't read this series. Somebody who has will be looking forward to that one. Okay, the next one is The Merge by Grace Walker. This is a parenthood and children fiction, metaphysical and visionary fiction, political fiction. Those three things, to me, don't seem to fit together. And then it says, a thrilling and ominous prophetic debut set in a world when Earth and its resources has been pushed to breaking point, giving rise to a revolutionary and highly controversial procedure in which two people's consciousness can be combined to exist in one body. How far would you go to never say goodbye? So it sounds sci-fi. I'm going to bet Aardvark's going to have this book because this is like right up Aardvark's alley of these kinds of books. I mean, it does sound interesting, but based on the categories it was listed under, the categories and the blurb and everything, to me, don't fit. Just saying so. On to the next one. Next one is a romance. Now, this is an actual winter-specific romance called Honeymoon Phase, and it is the romance in the Mountain Men Matchmaker series by Amy Daws. Fact or fiction? Proposing to your best friend so she can inherit her family business is a great idea. So it's friends to lovers, I guess. Doesn't seem to have any tropes listed or anything like that, but yeah. So I'm betting that that's what it is because, wait, hold on. Let's pretend we're married and go all night. Marriage of convenience, youngest Fletcher brother, who has a pet rooster, will make you cry, filled with family drama, lumberjack daddy and mommy, friends to lovers. So there we go on that one. And then we have An Academic Affair by Jodi McAllister. And this one I think is also a romance. Yeah, workplace romance. And it says, from the masterly Jodi McAllister, it's so weird, a charming new romance about two English professors who embark on a fake relationship only to discover that it may be harder to pretend than they realized. Is it enemies to lovers? I don't know. Yeah, they're academic rivals. So obviously relationship of convenience kind of idea. So that's that one. Another romance. Okay, then we have Between Two Kings. This is by Lindsay Straub, and it's a second book in the Split or Swallow series. First one was Kiss of the Basilisk. I'm assuming this is a continuation with the same character. I don't know. Have not read the first one. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a different female lead. Not really sure, to be perfectly honest. I think I have the first one in my Kindle Unlimited. I didn't buy it because I wasn't real sure about it. So, but I'm sure there's a lot of people are waiting for the second one. And of course, they've got it coming out in paperback special edition. Then we have The King's Ransom by Janet Ivanovich. And this is the second book in the Recovery Agent Gabriella Rose series. Thriller master Janet Ivanovich takes you on a global hunt to track down missing masterpieces in this action-packed and steamy sequel to the instant bestseller, The Recovery Agent. Gabriella Rose, recovery agent extraordinaire, can find just about anything. Too bad she can't seem to lose her gorgeous but infuriating ex-husband, Rafford Jones. And now he needs her help. His cousin Harley is in trouble, big trouble. Obviously has a certain amount of romance built in. That actually appeals to me. I like the sound of that. Well, no, I would want to read the first one because that's the second one. This is the second one in the series. So, next one, The Forest of Missing Girls by Nichelle Giraldez. Giraldez, I think. That's how it's pronounced. My apologies if I butchered it, which I tend to do on a regular basis. The forest is hungry, and her family's secrets are tangled in the trees. Leah Craig always hoped to outgrow her fear of the woods surrounding her childhood home. The dark, menacing trees have long been the site of whispered legends and disappearances of girls like her. But after a breakup sends her back to live with her family, the woods feel more sinister than ever. When a teenage girl disappears from their backyard, Leah's childhood fear becomes terrifyingly real. So is this a thriller? Yeah, this is a psychological thriller, suspense, horror is what it's listed under. And then we have Innocence Road by Laura Griffin. Is this another thriller? Yeah, this is a police procedural, women's sleuth, cozy mystery is what it's listed under. So that is something that would appeal to me because, love my cozy mysteries. It says, Detective Leanne Everhart swore she'd never go back to her hometown near Marfa, Texas. But she returns when her brother needs her, only to find a town in need too, still torn apart by a decades-old crime. Not going to read anymore. Don't want to give it away. I hate giving it away. That's the only thing I don't like about, thrillers and stuff, is you read too much, it gives it away. Next Time Will Be Our Turn by Jessie Q. Sotanto. And I think this is YA, new adult and college, contemporary women's fiction, LGBTQ 2S+ fiction. The grandmother tells her granddaughter about her twisty, often surprising journey to who she is now in this sweeping love story. Izzy Chen is dreading her family's annual Chinese New Year celebration, where they all come together at a Michelin-starred restaurant to flaunt their status and successes in hope to one-up each other. So when her 73-year-old glamorous and formidable grandmother walks in with a stunning woman on her arm and kisses her in front of everyone, it shakes Izzy to her core. She always considered herself the black sheep of the family for harboring similar feelings to the ones her nanai just displayed. Obviously, it's like a finding each other, women's fiction, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I think that sounds great. And that is the end of November 11th. So now we have, I thought that said November 13th. I'm like, that can't be right. No, it's November 18th is coming up. Okay, so we're going to start the 18th off with a banger that I know a ton of people are waiting for. And I do have it on pre-order because I really enjoyed Quicksilver, and that is Brimstone by Kalie Hart. Now, of course, I cannot read the synopsis. Literally, all it says is duty, blood, honor, power. Keep your mouth shut, stick to the shadows, and for the love of all 7 gods, do not crack any jokes. Anyway, if you read Quicksilver, then you know how it ended. It was a hell of an ending. That was probably the part of the book that I liked the best. Like, the ending was, yeah, really amazing. So I'm looking forward to this. I mean, you know, the only downside is that my original copy, first of all, is paperback. This is coming out in hardcover, which I actually prefer. But it's also the original cover, the indie version. But it is what it is. I mean, I'm not that picky. I like them to match as much as possible if I can do it. But yeah, I know a lot of people waiting for that one. Okay, the next one is I, Medusa by Ayana Gray. And I believe this one is Greek and Roman mythology, gas lamp fantasy, historical fantasy. So this is, again, a fantasy book. And it says, and Ayana Gray brings her fresh, dynamic storytelling to one of the most monstered, maligned, and misunderstood women of Greek myth, imagining all the girls that Medusa was and could have been. So Medi has spent her whole life as footnote in someone else's story, out of place next to her beautiful immortal sisters and her parents, both gods, albeit minor ones. She dreams of leaving her family's island for a life of adventure. So when she catches the eye of the goddess Athena, who invites her to train as an esteemed priestess in her temple, Medi leaps at the chance to see the world beyond her home. We will see where it goes from there, because of course we all know the original tale, or at least I think most people do, of Medusa and how she came to be. We'll leave it at that. And then the next one is The Seven Rings, which is the 3rd book in the Lost Bride trilogy by Nora Roberts. So I'm assuming these are interconnected, and each book is about a different person, but just in case, like has different main characters, but just in case, I will not read the synopsis just to be on the safe side, because I have not followed this. And it says, she concludes her compelling Lost Bride trilogy as 2 women, one dead, one alive, preparing for a terrifying final showdown. Or maybe it's a continuous story then. So it's probably a good thing I didn't read it. And what is it listed under? It says it's listed under ghost thrillers, paranormal fantasy, contemporary women's fiction. Next one is The Burning Library by Gilly McMillan. Seeing things, weird things. British and Irish literature, international mystery and crime, historical thriller. So this is obviously a thriller. I won't read too much of it, but it basically says it's a thrilling, dark academic tale of murder, obsession, ruthless ambition set in remote St. Andrews, Scotland. A deadly rivalry, a chilling secret, one woman who can decipher the truth. Leave it at that. Don't want to give away too much with these. I mean, I think this one sounds interesting. Might be something that I would pick up at a later date. Next one. Okay, I'm going to try to say this because this is a long title. Violet Thistlethwaite is Not a Villain Anymore by Emily Kremfoltz. That's like a freaking mouthful. And it is a fairy tale, fantasy anthology, military fantasy. So clearly it's a fantasy. It looks a little bit cozy and a little bit of romance in there. A powerful plant witch and a grumpy alchemist, so grumpy sunshine maybe, must work together to save their quiet town from a magical plague in this debut cozy fantasy romance about starting over, redemption, and what it really means to be a good person. There you go. Love the cover. Like, the cover is just fabulous, you know? Yeah, fabulous cover. This one sounds good too. I like cozies, so might be something that I would consider picking up. Next one is Daddy Issues by Kate Goldbeck. And I believe this is a romance, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, feel-good fiction, contemporary women's fiction, romantic comedy romance. So it has a comedic element to it. A jaded 20-something is stuck living at home, her life on pause, when a single dad becomes her new neighbor and unexpectedly sets her life and her heart into motion in this modern love story from the best-selling author of You Again. Sometimes love shows up where you least expect it, right next door. I like the cover. Again, another, it's got kind of that comic book feel to it. You know, I'm not one for the comic covers typically, but I like them when they have a more realistic depiction behind them. I guess that just sort of, yeah, sounds a little bit, makes more sense, right? Like this next one is And Then There Was You by Sophie Cousins. I hate this cover. Like, I hate this cover. This just looks like a bunch of block elements have been thrown together. I do not like this cover. Again, it's a romance, humorous, contemporary women's fiction, contemporary romance. And it says, she's found the perfect man. There's just one big twist. Stuck in a production assistant job, living at home with her parents after a painful breakup, 31-year-old Chloe Fairway isn't where she wants to be in life. The last thing she needs is to face the people who once voted her most likely to succeed at her upcoming 10-year college reunion. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Yeah. So then we've got Rob, who is handsome, well-read, and charming match, the perfect plus one to take to her reunion. So, fake date? I'll leave it at that. Now, I'm going to guess either Book of the Month or Aardvark. Might pick up this one because this is the type of thing that they usually do pick up. Maybe. Just a prediction. Maybe not. Okay, next one. Haven't Killed in Years by Amy K. Green. This one is a serial killer thriller, science fiction, crime and mystery, murder thriller. It says, no one is supposed to know harmless office worker Gwen Tanner is the vanished daughter of serial killer Abel Haggerty, but a low profile and a new name aren't going to cut it when an obsessive new killer starts targeting her in this lively and propulsive thriller with a standout voice. It says, Marion Haggerty, a daughter of a notorious serial killer, was only a child when they arrested her father. Ripped from her home and given a new identity, Marion disappeared. 20 years later, Gwen Tanner keeps everyone at a distance, preferring to satirize the world around her than participate in it. It's for her safety and theirs. But when someone starts sending body parts to her front door, the message is clear. I know who you are. Ooh, that's like super, 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 super creepy. Yeah, that's super creepy. Okay. Yeah, that's one that I could potentially pick up. Although, I don't want the hardcover. I prefer to get that paperback unless Book Outlet or Book of the Month picks it up, which would, again, be lovely. They always do tend to pick up thrillers. Okay, next one I have on pre-order. It is the 24th book in the Temperance Brennan series by Kathy Reichs called Evil Bones. And this is, again, Temperance Brennan is a forensic anthropologist. It says women's sleuth, mystery, thriller, and suspense. Yeah, that's totally what it is. It's a mystery suspense is what I would call it. This is the 24th book. It says, Kathy Reichs returns with a twisty, magnetic thriller featuring forensic anthropologist Temperance Brennan, who finds herself enmeshed in a series of grisly animal killings that escalate into something far more sinister. Small creatures, a rat, a rabbit, a squirrel, have been turning up throughout Charlotte, North Carolina, mutilated and displayed in a bizarre manner. But one day, as Tempe is relaxing at home alongside her aimless, moody great niece Ruthie, she's diverted by a disturbing call. The perp is upping the ante. This find could be human. I have this on pre-order. I mean, I think I have read up to book 12. I think I have 13 and 14, but I also have some of the ones that are newer that I picked up from Book Outlet and stuff. So just anything that I can grab, I grab. So I will get this one. Next is At Midnight Comes the Cry from Julie Spencer Fleming. This is the 10th book in the Ferguson Van Alstyne mysteries. So this is obviously a mystery series. Again, very similar to what we just talked about with the Temperance Brennan series. It's a police procedural, women's sleuth, and this one is based at Christmas. So this is one of the few actual Christmas books that we have. It's Christmas time in Miller's Kill, and Reverend Claire Ferguson and her husband Russ Van Alstyne, newly resigned from his position as chief of police, plan to enjoy it with their baby boy. On their list, visiting Santa, decorating the tree, and attending the church Christmas pageant. But when a beloved holiday parade is crashed by white supremacists, Claire and Russ find themselves sucked into a parallel world of militias, machinations, and murder. There you go. That would be one, though, that I would go, right, like if I was going to read it, because I've never read any of these. It certainly sounds good. I like police procedurals. Those are huge for me. I'd go back to book one. Always go back to book one. Okay, next one. Made You Look by Tanya Grant. This, again, looks like another thriller. Yeah, psychological thriller, murder thriller, suspense. So, right up there with the rest of them. I have a lot of them, again. I didn't think we had as many. I thought we had more fantasy. We did have quite a few fantasy, but yeah. A Catskills retreat turns deadly for a group of influencers when a snowstorm cuts them off from their greatest resource, their followers, just as a killer strikes in this irresistible debut thriller. So it's a debut. I'm wondering, again, it might get featured on Book of the Month or Aardvark because it is a debut thriller. They do like to do that too. And I actually think this one sounds interesting. You know, bunch of influencers. It's got to be interesting. I'm wondering who will be left at the end, right? Okay, next one is Hollow. It is the first book in the Crown of Hearts and Chaos series by Carolyn Peckham and Suzanne Valente. And of course, these are the authors that wrote the Zodiac Academy. So this is a new series for them. It says, don't listen to the whisper of the woods. Don't trust the man cloaked in shadow. Don't earn the wrath of the scattered spirits. Don't go out after dark. And what's it listed under? It's listed under dragons and mythical creatures, romantic fantasy, futuristic ghost romance. So, yeah. So this one sounds like it has a very different vibe from Zodiac Academy. And first book is 560 pages. So it's pretty robust. Pretty robust. And that was the last book for November 18th. Now we are on to our last date, which is November 25th. We only have 4 books left to go. So our first book for the 25th of November is much anticipated by many, I'm sure. and that is The Dawn of Chaos and Fury by Melissa K. Roerick. That is the 4th book in the Legacy series. Now, I do have the first 3, but I also wanted to kind of start Lady of Darkness first. So I haven't pre-ordered this because, I can always grab it later. It is a continuing series, so I will not read the synopsis because I don't think that's a good idea, but it is a urban romantasy series, I believe. Let me just check the fantasy, anthology, romantic fantasy, military fantasy, and then I know I've heard that it's urban in its nature. So that one, I know a ton of people are waiting on that one. So almost here. Next one is a second chance romance by Olivia Dade, and it is the 2nd book in the Harlot's Bay series. Clearly, she's plus size. Looks like he might be a little plus size too, maybe? Not 100% sure. But it says, in the 2nd installment by best-selling author Olivia Dade, Harlot's Bay series, a mistaken obituary leads to the reunion of 2 former high school crushes. Sparks fly in this hilarious grumpy romance packed with Dade's signature body positivity and a delicious amount of spice. There is that one. Next one is Best Offer Wins by Marissa Cascino, and this is dark humor women's fiction crime thriller. Sounds like a bit of a combo of everything. An insanely competitive house market, a desperate buyer on the edge. In Marissa Cascino's darkly humorous debut novel, Best Offer Wins, the white picket fence becomes the ultimate symbol of success and obsession. How far would you go for the house of your dreams? I don't know how far I'd go. I think we're kind of out of the whole bidding war thing now here in Ontario, Canada. Real estate is having a hard time. Like the house on the corner has been up for sale for months, which doesn't happen that often. It never used to happen that often. Okay, and the last book we have for November 25th is As Many Souls as Stars by Natasha Siegel, and this is lesbian fiction, gaslight fantasy, historical fantasy. It starts in 1592, an inventive and romantic speculative novel about 2 women, a witch and an immortal demon, who make a Faustian bargain and are drawn into a cat and mouse chase across multiple lifetimes. So I think that one sounds actually interesting, and I think the cover's stunningly beautiful. If you look at the cover up close, it looks like needlepoint. Like, it actually looks like the whole thing is kind of needlepoint stitching. Yeah, so really do love that. Okay, so that is it for what we had for November. So that's 40 books in total, and there's a few in there that I have obviously on pre-order. And so how many do you have pre-ordered? In the comments below, let me know if anything that I've listed there is of interest to you, or if you've pre-ordered it. And if you don't have anything to say, you can leave me little book emojis in there. I think they're cute, so go ahead and do that. Just would love comments. Also would love it if you could like and subscribe to the video. I am like this close to 1,000 subscribers. That's like the magic number, 1,000 subscribers. My anniversary of a year is October 9th, which is creeping close. And I think this video will be going up just before October 9th. I think just before. So, yeah. So I would really love it if you could help me out with that and get me to that 1,000 subscriber mark. And that's it for now. And the next video, I think I'm going to be doing, before I do my book reviews for September, I think we're going to do a discussion about Kindle. And because I very rarely talk about what's on my Kindle outside of Kindle Unlimited. So we're not going to talk about Kindle Unlimited. We're going to talk about regular Kindle. So that's going to be next up. And hopefully you'll visit me for that one too. All right. We'll see you in the next video. Hope you have a great day.